All right, I am Shannon Donnelly. I am the high school principal, and thank you so much for coming. I'm super excited to be able to kind of roll out for you some really kind of, I would say, foundational information regarding our master schedule for next year. So I'm just going to kind of throw out a couple things before we get started. You probably will leave here with some questions and maybe a little confused of like, how is this going to work and what are we doing and why are we doing that? So the only thing I need from you is just to maintain an open mind, all right? So I'm going to walk through kind of why we're looking at making a change, some of those pieces in terms of why we believe this master schedule that we've kind of landed on is best for our kids, and then a couple next steps that we're going to talk about kind of as we're done here. So if you have questions along the way, throw your hand up. This is super informal. I want to make sure that you have any immediate questions and I get those answered. We're definitely going to have, I would say, some good discussion about the fact that we're going to make things look really different next year. And different in terms of different from how most of us traditionally know school. This is my 18th year in education. I started going to school when I was in kindergarten, and really school for me, as with many of you parents, has looked one way from the beginning of time. I am a really firm believer that in the year 2018, school needs to look different. I'm going to talk about my why here in a minute, but for me this is a really important one. Most schools and most educational models, given the one that we are doing right now in our 6-period day, look the same as it has for 100 years. And given our society and our global world around us, I'm just really passionate about the fact that I think that our school needs to change and adapt to our surrounding 21st century. So that for me was kind of one of the biggest kind of reasons why even last spring we started having some conversations about how do we need to make education at our high school look different, which really kind of started our conversation in the building regarding our why and why we want to take a look at making a change from a 6-period day. So with that said, as a staff, we've been having months and months and months of conversations around our why, right? Making a master schedule change to any high school is a huge undertaking. And definitely not something that I take lightly. I hope this is the only master schedule change that I ever make in my entire principal career. And with that said, here's some of the reasons that we wanted to really kind of pursue taking a look at something different. Currently, our 6-period day is very limiting for our students. In a given school year, our students have basically 12 opportunities to take classes between first and second semester, and that number is going to be important a little bit later. We have students leaving our building as they graduate, telling us that they have not been able to take all the classes they would like to take. Some of those are electives, and also telling us like, I can't even fit in some years all the stuff that I have to take. So that was kind of a red flag for us in terms of like, man, we need to do something different to better meet the needs of our kids. A couple other pieces that we've talked about that we really believe are important pieces of a master schedule. Currently, we have no time built in during the day to really focus on intervention or extension. So kids at the end of a lesson that maybe just needed some extra help, an extra 10, 20, 30 minutes to really kind of nail down whatever that topic was for the day. We have right now some inconsistent time throughout the week. Our homeroom time is a great time throughout the day, but as any kids in here know, our homeroom time is busy and crazy, and we've got pet fests and all kinds of things going on. So that time is not what I would consider consistent. We also have no time built in during the day what I would say is consistent for students and teachers to be able to connect. We have almost 80% of our high school students that are involved in something after the school day, so trying to get together with a teacher after school is almost impossible. Trying to get here in the morning, you guys are parents of teenage kids, you know, trying to get your child here early is hard. A lot of our teachers are, advising and coaching after school, so really trying to find a way in our master schedule to build in time for our teachers and kids to be able to connect during the day was an important piece for us. And I kind of mentioned this last one already, but I'm really, really lucky that I have a staff that also is very passionate about wanting to look at how we do school differently to match 21st century. So, A couple months ago, I sent out a survey to students and said, if you could build your ideal master schedule, what are some things that you would want in that schedule? And I didn't talk about a flex mod or a 6-period day or an 8-period day. I just said, hey, what are some things that you want in your schedule? And these were the top 4 things that came up. Kids want time during the day to do their work. They want room to take more classes, and specifically most kids designated electives. They want breaks during the day or the ability to have some flex time. Basically, that's code for, I would like some time during the day where an adult isn't telling me what to do. And they would like classes on specific days or some way to be able to change the routine. So every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday doesn't look the exact same. So I also, over the course of many, many months, received input from staff, and I asked them basically the same question. If you could build an ideal master schedule, what are some things that you would want to incorporate in the schedule to best meet the needs of your class and our students? So some of the top things that they would mention, an opportunity for co- and cross-curricular teaching. I have a lot of teachers that express an interest in wanting to work together. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do English and social studies together at the same time? Amazing. Or math and science together at the same time. Yes, we have those things happening right now in small pockets, but our schedule is not designed for that to happen on a consistent basis. We also have teachers saying that we want to be able to work with kids and deliver small group instruction. Right now, we have no time to be able to do that. So if we have a group of kids, after I give an assessment, and I've got 5 kids that, man, they just aren't there yet, and I don't want to move on until those 5 kids get it. Right now, we have no time in our day to be able to address some of those needs. We talked about being able to connect and work with students during the day, so that was also important for our teachers. And time in the week for classes to be structured based on needs. So one thing that we immediately agreed upon is that all of our classes don't have the same needs. Meaning, chemistry class has very different needs structurally than a Spanish class. Our foods class has very different needs than a math class. And right now, our schedule is kind of a one-size-fits-all, right? And we believe that there's a more unique way that we can look at delivering that instruction. I also sent an email, or excuse me, a survey to parents, and I asked parents, what are some of the skills that you want to make sure that your child has when they graduate from Somerset High School? And here were the top skills that parents mentioned: being a critical thinker, problem solver, collaborator, self-driven, being able to manage time, organization, independent thinker, and adaptable. And after looking at all that information, I would argue that in order to do all of those things that we're hearing from our kids, our staff, and parents, that those things cannot happen to the maximum extent in a traditional schedule like we have right now, which again was kind of the whole basis for why we want to make some change. So the other piece of this too, which is really important, any decisions that I'm making in my building, I need to ensure that they align to our new strategic plan that we just unveiled in the district about a year or so ago. And we have a specific action step that mentioned utilizing flexible schedules. This almost gave our building permission to explore a wide variety of schedules, as I said, kind of starting last spring, moving through the summer and all through the fall until we made a decision in late January. And really kind of took that action step and looked at a wide variety of schedules. So we didn't just start with, let's do the flex mod. We looked at 6-period day, 7-period day, 8-period day. We looked at a 3x5 trimester and about 17 different variations of that. And the idea of a flex mod actually came to me from a teacher in the building and said, you know what, I saw this, take a look at this link. And as soon as I read it, I thought, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. This is everything that we're about. This fits our philosophy. This is what we're going to do. But oh my gosh, this is way too overwhelming. I don't think we could ever do it. And as we continued to do more research and went on site visit after site visit after site visit and Google Hangout with multiple schools, we landed as a staff on FlexMod is the only way we can go. If we really want to accomplish all the goals that we say we want to accomplish in this building with our kids, we have to move away from a traditional model. So, with that said, I'm going to give you in the next couple slides here the foundational information of a FlexMod schedule. And I want to kind of just put out there right now, this is a lot to kind of take in because it's very, very different than a traditional schedule. It's okay if you have questions, it's okay if you leave here confused. Remember, kind of the ground rule was, we gotta have an open mind, right? With me? Not sleeping yet, right? Cool, all right. This is it, man. This is, or ma'am, not man, ma'am. This is it, yep. After all our research, this is it, yep. All right. So, right now, we are functioning in a 6-period day, and we are abandoning the idea of periods. And our master schedule throughout the day is going to be made up of mods. So our chunk of time right now, we live in periods, and we have 6 periods that are 57 minutes long. Now we are going to move to what's called mods. And our mods are going to be 20 minutes long each, and we're going to have 20-minute mods throughout our school day. And this will make more sense in a minute, so hang on. All right? Your child is not going to just have a 20-minute math class every day, so work with me here, okay? But, so we're going to have 20-minute mods. And teachers right now are custom building each of their classes to meet the needs of students and what they believe to be meeting the needs of their specific class. And they're going to do that by breaking up their classes into a large group, a small group, and potentially a lab. So what that means is, a chemistry class is a good example because a chemistry class is a class that can utilize a lab. It is hard to do a full impact chemistry lab in 57 minutes. We do it because that's what we've got right now, but we don't believe that's meeting the needs of our kids in the best possible way. So a chemistry class, for example, may start the week out with a 4-mod lab, which would be 4 mods in a row, 20 minutes each. Okay? That might be on a Monday. On a Tuesday, they may have chemistry class for only 2 mods. That's 40 minutes, which would be just a small group. Wednesday, they may have another 4-mod lab. Thursday, for example, they may not have chemistry class at all. And then on Friday, they may have another 40-minute chemistry class. And I'm going to give you a visual in a minute to help this, but I'm just trying to kind of lay the foundation here. And so right now, that's what our teachers are working on kind of at this moment. Within their teams, within their department, having a lot of discussion about what do each of these individual classes really need to look like, because we don't believe in one size fits all. All right, students will take a minimum of 7 classes. Right now, our kids take 6. So right there, we're already increasing some of the options for our students, going from 6 classes to 7. So we went from 12 options a year to 14 options a year, but that will be the minimum. Many students will take potentially up to 9 or 10 classes, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. That's not going to work for all kids. Doesn't mean all kids are going to take on that load, but we have many kids in the building that want to take on a load like that, and right now we can't do that. So, kind of talks, as I said earlier, about opening up some of those options. And as I mentioned a little bit in my chemistry example, the classes are not going to be kind of neat and tidy like they are right now, where a student may have Algebra 1 every day, 3rd hour. Now those classes are going to be phased a little bit differently throughout the week. And the nice thing is, though, that every Monday for a student will look the same. Every Tuesday will look the same. It could look different than Monday, but every Tuesday is the same. Every Wednesday is the same. Every Thursday is the same. But their week throughout the week is going to look a little bit different. Not quite as clean as it is right now. And I'm going to show you a visual in a minute that will help kind of tighten that up. All right, so as we're talking about mods, throughout the day, students in their schedule will have some mods that are open. And they will use that time for what's called personalized learning time. That means that they are not scheduled to a class. They will have that time open, which will give them an opportunity to make decisions about what that student needs in terms of their education and their instruction. I put a couple examples up here of what that time might be used for. Collaborating with peers on projects, working online, using as a study hall, connecting with a teacher or counselor, using that time to make up an assessment, retake a test. It's really probably limitless in terms of what they could do with that time. But I'm a really firm believer in, if we want our kids to be able to make good decisions when they leave here, they have to be given the opportunity while they're here to make decisions. And right now, that's pretty limited. Right now, most of the decisions that the kids get to make are almost what I call non-decisions. right? Most of what happens in a building throughout the day is pretty teacher and adult directed. We want our kids to be able to use that flexible time to make decisions about what they need on that day during that time. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. The other really important piece of moving to the schedule, which is probably what sold us in terms of landing on this schedule, is that throughout the day, we will have designated rooms around the building called resource centers. And there will be one resource center designated for sure for every content area. And in that resource center, every day, at any point during the day, there will be a content area teacher available for students. So, let's say I have an open mod, I've got 20 minutes, and man, I need help on my math assignment. So I'm going to go to that resource center, because that's what I'm choosing to be what I need during that flex time, and I'm going to get help from a math teacher. It may not be my math teacher, which we're okay with, but I want to get help from a math teacher versus my English teacher in my homeroom, which is what happens right now. So I will guarantee for sure for English, social studies, science, and math, those resource centers will have a content area teacher in that room all day, accessible to kids all day. Obviously the teachers will rotate, it won't be the same person all day, and then in terms of some of our other classes, like our world language, some where we don't have as many staff, then those resource center times will be posted to students so they kind of know when that teacher's available. But we want to at least ensure that for our content areas that there was somebody available in that content area all day to kids. Okay? Okay. Another really important piece of this is, because of the amount of flexibility in the schedule, students are now able to potentially overlap some classes. Right now, that is not an option because it doesn't work within our structure. All right? So an example might be, we have a student that wants to take AP Psych and choir. Right now, if a student comes to us and says, like, man, I want to take both of these, we don't have a good way to make that work, and most of the time we have to tell kids no, which we hate doing. So this would allow a student to potentially take both, and the way that would look is the student would have to talk to the AP Psych teacher, the student would have to talk to the choir teacher, and then the three of them develop a plan that they can all live with. So maybe it's, you know what, I go to AP Psych 3 days a week, the other 2 days I'm going to choir. Awesome. Maybe 1 week I have to go to AP Psych every day because there's something going on I can't miss. And then I need to communicate with that choir teacher. Okay? Puts a lot of ownership on the student. Will that work for every kid? No. But for many kids that will work, and we want to give kids that opportunity and that option if that's going to work for them. I kind of mentioned this a little bit too, but built-in flexibility during the day. We really want to capture that time that we have with our kids during the day. 8 o'clock to 3:10, that's when we've got them. Before school is hard, after school is even harder. So during the day now, we have built-in time to be able to do collaboration, intervention, extension, provide additional job experiences, partnerships, tutoring. We reduce that workload that we know kids have when they leave here because they have built-in time now during the day to be able to get their work done. Okay? And developing some of those soft skills that we talked about a little bit earlier. The bottom line is, for this to work, we have to have people bought into the fact that it's a total mind shift of how we're doing school. Okay, it really is moving away from the factory model of school and kind of turning that upside down, which we are really excited about. So, I want you to just take that in for a second. I'm explaining what you're looking at here, okay? My little red thing doesn't go all the way up there, but on the top, see where it says Monday through Friday, period 1 through 6. That is a sample student schedule as it may look right now in our current schedule. Okay, 6-period day, English, Phy Ed, foods, history, lunch, then you have chemistry and algebra 1. So in a color-coded fashion, I translated that to what a similar schedule might look like in the Flex Mod version. All right? So let's take English for example. This student has English on Monday for mods 1, 2, and 3. This student does not have English at all on Tuesday. Wednesday, the student has English for mods 3 and 4. There's a LG behind it, which means it's a large group. So that may be a bigger class with probably 2 teachers in it, which is something we're excited about as well. The Thursday, they have English for mods 1 through 4 again, and then Friday, mods 1 through 3. So the English teacher and English department had made the determinations in terms of, this is how we believe this English class should be phased, right? You can see they don't have kind of a massive lab time in there, right? But they got some bigger chunks of time and one smaller chunk of time. Let's look at the foods class, for example, in yellow. You can see on Monday and Wednesday, they've got mods 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are ideal big chunks of time to do a lab and foods class. Right now, if you go into our foods class and watch a lab, it's insane. Trying to get everything out and prepped and cooked and ready and cleaned up in 57 minutes, it's crazy. So, giving 2 chunks of big time to be able to really dig in and do some nice labs in that class. Thursday they have a bit of a smaller class, and then no foods on Tuesday or Friday. All right? Where you see that purple flex for this schedule, those would be open mods for that student, meaning they're not scheduled anywhere, but they would be expected to be in certain places in the building. Okay, they can't leave. That was a question in my first session right away, like, oh, no, they can't leave, okay? But those are times during the day where a student is going to be able to make a decision about how they use that time. Maybe it's working in one of our designated flex time areas on homework, awesome. Connecting with the teacher, that would be a great time to go to a resource center if I need help on my math. It may be tutoring a freshman if I'm a senior. I mean, again, endless possibilities of what students can do with that time. But the kicker is if we find, either through grade checks or behavioral choices, that students aren't able to navigate that open flex time, we then remove that flex time and they're scheduled somewhere to be. So they no longer have that opportunity to make those decisions. We make those decisions for them and then try to kind of give that freedom back. Okay, does that make sense? How about like initial questions right now on kind of this visual? Yep. So
getting the flexibility part into that, was there any discussion about a longer than 5-day week, like a 7-day week?
Good question, no. That didn't come up.
Well, so, I mean, it's not like that's how it was when I went to high school?
Yeah, so are you saying like a day 1, day 2, yeah, type thing, yep. Yeah. I know, I'm like, on Sunday? Like, are we going 7 days? What? No, I know. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, do we want to try something like that? And we felt jumping into this, knowing this is going to be a massive change, we felt this was a little bit cleaner, just trying to maintain kind of that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and this is kind of what it is. You know, the negative side of that is if you have a snow day on a Friday, you know, that day just kind of goes away, but we figured we can navigate that. Good question, though. Any other immediate question, like kind of what you see here? Yep.
Is this thing the Genius Hour concept of the alternate Wednesdays thing that now is gone?
Correct. Yes. Good question. So our kind of funky Wednesday thing we have now will no longer exist. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily see the same students on the same days. Is that correct? I'm just wondering how the teacher might know where the student is at, like on a continual basis.
Right. So from the AP choir example, like how they know. So my expectation would be that there's a high level of communication between those three, between the teacher, student, right? And like I said, that may not be the right fit for every student in terms of being able to navigate that. I would argue right now I have many kids that could navigate that no problem. And teachers that are willing to be flexible and allow that to happen, which is kind of the other part of that. But as we kind of get this rolling, there'll probably be some pieces like that that are messy, for sure. And then we kind of work to tighten it up and kind of fill in those holes. But I think the bigger piece of that for me is the opportunity to give kids those options, because right now we tell kids no, And so that kind of gets back to when they leave here, it's like, man, I wish I could have taken a second year of Spanish, or I wish I never got to take a Woods class, or, you know, or even additional AP. I mean, you can kind of go down the line, but good question. But, yep.
So what about the effectiveness of flex time for January? It's 20 minutes. So realistically, is 20 minutes a solid amount of time for a student to go in and have a teacher available versus other students? Or, you know, so I'm just curious about the effectiveness of the 20-minute slot versus a 40-minute slot. Like after Monday, where you have 20 minutes, but
Yep.
throughout the day.
Yep.
You know, and if we don't have questions, use that time and, I don't know, you know, really get into horns. It's like more time together, it's more effective. 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there.
Right. Good question. As we build individual schedules, you know, there will be likely some that probably look just like this. There will be some that have definitely mods chunked together. It all is going to depend on what classes students registered for, where those classes land, if there's overlapping. But I think part of what we're getting at too is, you know, if kids have 20 minutes, you know, the expectation is, and part of this is we have to help kids learn this, right? Kids aren't going to inherently know how do I best use 20 minutes or 40 minutes or 60 minutes, right? Part of it is going to be on our part, explicitly teaching kids how do you use that time, right? And if you don't have a teacher that you have to talk to and you've got 20 minutes, what should that 20 minutes look like, right? I think one thing that we need to be really diligent about as we roll this out with kids is having those really intentional conversations. And part of that is going to happen, which I probably should have mentioned earlier too, but I think I have it later. At the beginning of every day, Monday through Friday, we're starting from 8 to 8:30 with a half-hour advisory. And in that advisory, hi Johnny, in that advisory, especially for next year, a huge piece of that is going to be explicitly teaching kids how to navigate the FlexMod schedule. Because, you know, next year it'll be new for everybody, so we'll need to do this across every grade, but to be able to answer those exact questions, right? Because for some kids, again, depending on what they choose and their class load and how things work, they may only have 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there. But I think we get more bang for our buck when we're able to teach kids what to do with that time and what does that time look like and what doesn't it look like. Does that answer your question? And some, oh, go ahead.
I just had a question that's different.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate the large group class size to be, and where would that be from?
Yeah, good question. So, hi girls, you can come in. Clearly right now in the building, we don't have what I would consider any super ideal space for a large group, other than something like this, but taking the bleachers in and out every day is not an option either, right? So as we've kind of done a building analysis, we've designated a couple rooms that we think can comfortably fit, I would say 30 to 35 kids, maybe even up to 40, but those bigger classes will have 2 teachers most of the time, right? So what we're trying to do is, you know, be able to deliver information to kids in a really efficient, effective way to be able to create and make this happen, right? Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. You know, class size, the class size piece of it is a piece that we have had a lot of discussion about, and frankly, we don't have room to have anywhere in this building a group of 60 kids, right? So we have some classes right now that are running as large as what a large group might run in the FlexMod, right? Between, like I said, 32, 35-ish is kind of what we're going for, especially this year. And then having some discussion just about the physical space in the building, about kind of where that can be and what that looks like. So we're still kind of fine-tuning that piece of it. But we want there to be a really big distinction between large group and small group. You know, we want that small group to really be 10, 15 kids, you know, because we think that's really how teachers are going to be able to dig into the work that they want to do in those small group sessions. So, good question. Yep.
Are you anticipating more small group sessions than large?
Yes. Yep. And some classes won't have large group. I have some departments that have determined that, like, nope, we prefer to have many more small group sessions than the large group. Awesome. And that's kind of the work right now that the teachers are still kind of fine-tuning as well. Good question. Yep? Yeah, so youth options, exact same. So if we have kids that are going to WITC, River Falls, whatever that looks like, right now what we do is try to hand tailor their schedule so that they can go when they need to go. This won't be any different. So we will have individual conversations with kids to make sure that we schedule their schedule so that stuff can work. Yep, good question. Okay, a couple more things here. All right, couple things, these are things that have kind of come up to me a little bit in conversation that I want to make sure that I get out here. So our school start and end time is the same, 8 o'clock to 3:10, nothing has changed there. I mentioned this already, but every day we're going to start with an advisory from 8 to 8:30. That time will be very intentional. It's not just going to be an extra study hall per se. It'll likely be grade checks with teachers, doing some career planning, mentoring, playing our announcements, and for our freshmen, that will look a little bit different because we are going to probably intensify the how do I want to say this? Intentionally teaching them how to navigate not only the flex mod, but also the transition to high school. Because we're finding kind of year after year that that's a big jump, and we've got some gaps that we want to fill in terms of how to make sure that our freshmen are supported to be able to be successful here. Credits, so class of 2019, they will maintain the traditional 22 credits, which is exactly what we have now. Classes beyond that, because we're opening up the required amount of classes that students have to take, they will be at a minimum of 24 credits, which is what DPI recommends. Many of our students will leave here with well beyond 24 credits, but that will be the minimum in terms of graduation. And our counseling department right now too is creating these beautiful booklets for giving you guidance in terms of your career pathways and what students' goals might be and where they're kind of looking at heading after high school, and some of the classes that will fit kind of really nicely into that pathway, but more information coming on that too. We will remain on semesters. Moving into a FlexMod system does not impact our Laude system at all. So there's many things that will remain the same. And the other piece of this too, because of the increased options and increased flexibility, we're also right now in the process of adding 3 more college in the schools classes. I always, when I have an opportunity, to plug the fact that we're the only district in the entire state that has a partnership with the U of M. So kids being able to gain that U of M credit at no cost is pretty awesome. So we have 3 teachers right now that just submitted their information to the U of M to try to add 3 more classes, which is awesome. Also adding additional electives, and really excited about being able to really kind of pump up our community partnerships as well. So right now, this is currently my favorite picture when I think about FlexMod and kind of where we've been and where we're going. And there's no doubt this is going to be messy. This is good. There's a lot kind of going on with all of this. And one thing that, you know, we visited all these schools and had all these conversations. I said, I'm just going to warn you, that first year, anything and everything that happens in your town is going to be because of the FlexMod, right? So someone burns their toast in the morning, it's because of FlexMod. The football team loses, I can't believe that she put in the FlexMod. So we're ready for that, because I know it's going to be messy and it's not going to be perfect, and we're going to have a lot of bumps to kind of work out. Kind of the next steps. So this summer, especially, as we're in the process right now of fine-tuning exactly what the master schedule will look like. But then we're going to really physically look at each individual student's schedule and make sure that it matches not only what they registered for, potentially have additional conversations with students that we know have had conversations with us in the past about wanting to increase rigor or double up on classes, or, oh, I finally get to take choir. So if you're having conversations with your son or daughter about their classes for next year, nothing is ever in stone. Things can always be kind of moved and changed, so feel free to email me or one of the counselors if something comes up, because we're going to have a lot of, like I said, individual conversations and a lot of eyes looking at each individual student's schedule as we kind of get this off the ground. So, we're excited. This is going to be pretty great. You look thrilled, I can tell. You are just blown away. Yes. Yes. If you have any additional questions, definitely I will be here. Send me an email, let me know. There'll be a lot more information that's coming out to your students as well. As we fine-tune some additional, I know, hi, come on up. As we fine-tune some additional details, we're going to keep blasting out information, and none of this is a secret. This is meant to be very, very transparent, but a master schedule change is a huge change, no doubt. So, like I said, I feel excited that we've got staff that are behind it and ready to move, and the kids that we've rolled this out to, kind of in small doses, are excited about it too. So, any questions? Let me know. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, what are they? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Yep. Well, if we get approved, we have a psychology class, an English class, and economics. So we kind of got all fingers crossed right now that probably May-ish. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I know you guys are crazy busy, and I know play practice is going to start, which is my shameless plug for why we need an auditorium. Yep, we get, yep, I know, right. So, all right, thank you guys so much.